Okay, so that's the big question is like, how did you get here? Where are you from?
I grew up in the hills of western North Carolina. Um, in fact, my hometown is right near where the Appalachian Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and the Smoky Mountains meet. So that's where I grew up. My dad grew up there. Um,
What year were you born?
I was born there,
What
uh,
year?
in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Um,
What year? Oh, you don't want to say. I get it. That's fine. That's fine. Totally. A while back.
it was a while back.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. Cool.
mhm.
And what brought you here?
Ministry. Um, I was I used to have a little business like this back there. It was a high tourist area because we have folks going to the mountains all the time. And God called me into ministry out of my little business. And so I was taking stuff up into West Virginia and Kentucky and up into coal mining country and stuff. And then God called me out here. And so I came out here for ministry reasons. And I have been here for 25 years.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
you came straight here to the forest?
Hmm.
So how did you hear about the forest? How did you know about it in the first place?
It's kind of a long story, but um, I was at my store one day, and I'd worked really, really hard and just getting ready to open up the upstairs and all that. And I went to open I had bay doors on the garage at the building that I was in, and I went to open the doors one morning, and God just spoke to me and said, "You need to pack this stuff up. You're going to Texas." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I've never been to Texas in my life, you know." And so I just felt that, I just felt the urge and everything. And that evening, um, we down the mountain. There's a small little town down the mountain from where I lived, and they were having an outdoor singing there on the mountain. And I went down there, met some friends down there. First, I called a friend and talked to her, and she said, "Arlene, I saw the strangest thing on TV last night." And I'm like, "What was that?" She said, "There's a little town in Texas that's trying to build their town up, so they're giving away lots, free lots, trying to build their town up, right?" And I'm like, "You're kidding." And so then I told her what had happened that morning, and she's like, "You're lying." I'm like, "I don't lie. That
Yeah.
God spoke that to me and everything." And so anyway, went down to the music thing that night, and this friend of mine walked up from out of the blue. He walked up, and he's like, "Arlene, I saw the strangest thing on TV last night, just out of the blue." And he told me the same thing and everything. And I told him what had happened. Oh, okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll be going up the alley there to get the
Yeah, I
trash
saw the
stuff.
dump.
Yeah, and so then we talked about that and stuff. And so the next day, I didn't have cell phones or anything at the time. It was like it was in 1997. And so the next day, I started calling around Texas. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about Texas. I started calling around Texas to different towns and stuff, to the Chamber of Commerce's and stuff, to see what town it was that
Yeah.
they were talking about. And finally, I got, I think maybe Amarillo or something. And they said, "Well, I think this little town out, here in the Panhandle." And stuff. And so I called, and I talked to the girl that was working there at City Hall at the time, and I just took some information down about the little town and all that, and then for 2 weeks there would be confirmation to come up like like I was doing ministry, but I was also doing the stuff like I'm doing here, and people. It was my hometown, so people would bring by donations and things like that. And so somebody had left a box full of magazines on the Texas highways, and just different things like that happened. And so by the end of 2 weeks, I knew that I was coming to Texas if I had to walk. And so this friend of mine that I grew up with, he's like, "What's this nonsense I hear about you going to the Panhandle of Texas?" I'm like, "I'm going now if I have to hitchhike." And so he's like, "Well, you're not going by yourself. It's rough country out that way." And so he had this old van. And so we got busy on the van and built a petition in the van and stuff. And then we loaded it up with some stuff that I could sell along the way to get gas money and stuff like that. And we would like stop along the way, and I would sleep back in the little cubby one night, and then the next night he would sleep back in the little cubby, and I would sleep in the front seat and stuff. And so it was just we were just friends. And so we made the journey out here. And when I got here, I went in and introduced myself to the girl working in the in the city hall at the time. And she's like, "You came?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Now, what are you going to do with me? I don't know what I'm doing here, you know. And so my friend just stayed there in the van. We just parked there at City Hall, and he just stayed there in the van. And I just started walking around town. And the very first thing that I saw was the little building where I have the mission out there. It had been an old gas station building, and the doors were kicked in, the windows were broken out, the roof was caving in and stuff. But what I saw in the spirit, what I saw was shelves lined with food in a sanctuary. That's what I saw. And then I knew. I stood there for a little bit, and then I knew what I was going to be doing here. And so, long story short, a few months later, I came back and got started, and I've been here for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just you alone? You don't have a husband or?
At the time when I very first came out here, I didn't have a husband, but I met this man who was a minister, and he was going up into West Virginia and Kentucky, taking food and stuff up there. And I made a trip up there with him, and as it turned out, he and I got married. I was out here in June, July of '97. He and I got married the last day of November of that year, and we came out here for the first time. And then, and in the meantime, after I got back to Texas for my first trip out here, I started calling. Uh, as it turned out, I didn't get any of the lots or anything that they were giving away or anything like that. But as it turned out, the second day that I was here, I walked into City Hall and I met a woman, and she said, "Ma'am, are you serious about what you say you're doing?" I said, "You better believe I'm serious. I just came 1,500 miles on pure faith. You better believe I'm serious." And so she said, "Then I have a house that I want to give you." Right? And I'm like, "Excuse me?" Just met her, just got to Texas, you know.
Who was she?
And her name was Ruth Brown. Yeah, and she said yes. She said my husband and I bought these two houses, and she said that we've moved one of them and we're remodeling it, and the other one needs to be moved. They're out on the Bower City Highway. So I left my friend sitting here in LaForce, and she and I rode out to the Bower City Highway, and I saw the house for the first time. And I said, "Well, yeah, you know." So she gave me the house, and the next day or so, we went. I met with some of the pastors in town and just different things. And the next day or so, we went back to the Carolinas, and I started calling back out here to see if there was some land that I could buy.
But
Our,
the properties that they were giving away were suitable or?
I didn't. Evidently, they were gone. I don't know if they were all given away at the time that I came,
Yeah.
or what. But it
Yeah.
wasn't in the picture. I don't know exactly what happened. Um, so anyway, I called out here to see if there was some land that I could buy. I already knew that I was going to be working out of that building out there. God had showed me that clearly, and I knew that I was going to be working out of that building out there. Didn't know who owned it or anything, but that didn't matter. I knew that it was going to be mine. That I was going to be working there. And so I met this couple. The girl that had given the house told me about this couple that had some land, and so I called them and talked to them, told them what I wanted to do, and they said, "Well, yeah, they had some land. You know, they'd like to sell it to me and everything." I said, "Well, can you work with me a little bit until I get the money together?" They said, "We'll call you back and let you know." So after a bit, they called me back and they said, "Sure, we'll work with you." So I started sending them money on the land. And everything that I had never seen, didn't know where it was or anything like that. Didn't know, didn't matter.
Oh my
I was so
gosh.
excited. And so at the end of November, when my husband and I came out here, I saw the land for the first time and finished paying it off and all that. And it was this land and that we're sitting on right now. I didn't know that it was connected to the land out
Oh
there.
yeah,
The,
right next to the
I
mission.
didn't I didn't know it. I didn't know
Wow.
it, because I had never seen it. But God knew that.
So it's
And
from here all the way back?
um, okay, I have this whole block here. It's three separate properties. Where the mission is sitting is one property. Where those buildings are is another property, and this is another property. And so I have the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that they were connected. And so, anyway, that all worked out. And so that was the end of November. We came out and brought some clothing and some food and some Bibles and things and distributed those. And I had met a pastor when I had come out here the first time, and kind of a long story about that. But I was able to meet with him in Pampa and give out some food and stuff there. And then we went back because we had to go into West Virginia and Kentucky um, for Christmas and all that. And then at the first of the year, I told my husband that I feel that it's time for me to get back out here and get things started while he closes things down out there and so finishes up everything out there. And so I called out here again to see if there was a job that I could get and maybe a room to rent so that I could come on out and get started. Well, the same girl that gave the house, and this was the house that they had to move. The house
Yeah.
is like 100 years old. So this was the house that we moved here and everything. And so the same girl that had given the house had an aunt who needed someone to come in and take care of her. And so I called the aunt, and she hired me sight unseen and everything. She hired me to come, and she said that as long as I was working for her, that my husband and I could both live with her in her house.
Wow.
And so I came on out and got started, and then after a while, my husband came out, and I worked for her for a year, and finished paying off the land, had the house moved, and all of that stuff got started, trying to find out who owned the property where the mission is and stuff. And in fact, during that year, we'd had to go back to Kentucky for a revival, and I had left a phone number where I could be reached, and nobody nobody around would lay claims to that building out there because there was rumored that there were contamination in the gas tanks because the gas tanks were still there. And so the TNRCC was nosing around and all that.
Oh.
And so nobody would lay claims to it. So I talked to different people and everything. And when I left a phone number where I could be reached. And I got a phone call, and the man that actually owned that property out there called me, and he said, Arlene, he said, I will give you that building. He said, but when you get it, you get all the problems with it. You get the back taxes on it. You
Oh.
get the gas tanks. You get the everything to do with it. You get it. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And so he donated that building and stuff. And I knew without a doubt that that was the one I would be working out of. So anyway, we came back and stuff, and then started working on it a little bit. At the end of the year, we went back east, and we were gone for a couple of years. We lived in Kentucky for a couple of years, and then came back out here. And
What year did you come back out?
I'm sorry.
What year was that you came back out?
We came back out in it would have been early 2000.
And
Uh,
was the poverty like, you wanted to set this up for the town, because you felt called. Did you see that the poverty then was worse or not as bad as
it
it
was
is now? I mean, and
it.
how big was the town? How big were you, how many people were you
There were there
serving?
were less than 500 people here, and the poverty level was not like it was in West Virginia and Kentucky,
Oh.
but there were some needs here.
Was
And
it worse then than it is now? Or is it worse now here than it was then?
well, that's kind of hard to answer because of the COVID thing. I have been, oh my goodness, in the past, okay, to back up a little bit,
Sure.
we were strangers here, and it took a long time to build credibility with the people. Because it is what it is. I mean, everybody was, everybody lived here, had family here, and everything. And we were perfect strangers. So it took a while. But the first year that I was here, I had 4 semis come in loaded down with stuff that was able to give out. So it was kind of there could have been more needs then, but people didn't know about us, and they
What
didn't
was
trust
the
us, because for a while they were saying that, that I was putting drugs in the clothes and, all this stuff. I was enticing the kids and, just all that. It took a long, small town, and I was a perfect stranger and everything. So it took a while. And so, but after that first year or so, and I gave away those 4 semis loaded down with stuff, and then it wasn't too long after that that I started having the free-for-alls, right? And so then word has gotten around. I, to answer your question, Angie, I think that probably it's worse now since the COVID thing has hit and the economy is the way that it is, because my husband passed away a little over 5 years ago, and after he passed away, um, the I've worked nonstop. I've worked nonstop, and then especially after the COVID thing hit, and people were out of work, and people finding themselves in a place financially that they've never been in before. The folks back in the mountains are used to being poor. So they could deal with whatever they needed to deal with. A lot of the folks here are not used to being in that way, and not having money and not knowing what's going to happen next and all that. And so it was just different. But I have found that in the past 5 years, there have been so many needs around here. We've had wildfires, folks, homes burning. We've had
How
the
many homes have burned?
there have been several over the past few years because in Skellytown last year there were several that burned.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so by now people know about me all over the Panhandle. By now, it's taken some time. It's taken some years for that to happen, and so we've given stuff from in the first couple of years that we were here. We sent several loads of stuff into Mexico
Mm,
from here. We had a,
that's a
a,
long way.
a, a doctor friend who would make trips to Haiti, and so we would give him stuff. He took stuff to Haiti. We had friends who had an orphanage in Romania, and so I sent warm clothing and stuff to the orphanage in Romania. Um, all I took some stuff to India. I made a trip to India with my when my daughter lived there, and I took some stuff to India. All of the missions around the Panhandle, the ones in Amarillo, the ones in Pampa, all around the Panhandle, have at one time or another received items from the mission here in La Force.
Well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna Where are you gonna take all of this now that you have to
I'm,
clean it
I'm,
up?
I'm working on putting it behind the fence.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh,
You're just gonna let people go back there,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
just
It
kind
will
of
be
see.
set up kind of like this once it's done.
Yeah.
it's just taking a while because like I said, since my husband died, I have worked nonstop. This ministry exploded after he passed away, and with the donations coming in and all the people coming in needing help and everything, and I've been so busy out there at the mission that I haven't had time to get out here and do anything,
Mhm.
and so. Um, and so the trees have grown up in there and just different things like that. Wind is blowing stuff around and weeds and stuff. And so we're in the process of cleaning all that out back there, and I'm slowly moving all this stuff behind the fence. The rule is that I either have to fence in this entire property or this has to be moved behind a
Gosh, I
fence.
wonder which is easier.
Well, I can't afford. The fencing is
Yeah.
so expensive right
Oh yeah.
now. I mean,
Definitely.
lumber. I mean, it's ridiculous how expensive it is. And so I've been praying about it. And if some fencing shows up,
Uh huh.
and some help to put it up, we'll do that first.
Yeah.
But if not, then I'm in the process of moving it all back
So
there.
how many days do you have to move it?
Well, at first he said 6 months, and then he's saying until the 1st of October.
Who's he? He's a new.
The new marshal?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you talked to him personally?
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
so he told you 6 months.
At first he said 6 months, and then I was like, well, I don't think it'll take that long. And so then he said, the 1st of October. I said, well, now I'll tell you this right now. I won't be able to be out here working in the month of September because I have the fall free for all out at the church, and we have revival out there. So I'm going to be tied up the entire month of September. And so you know, and so now I'm asking for a little more time, because the weather, it's been extremely hot, and then
The
get
storm's gonna start coming.
yeah, and then help, getting help to do all this. I mean, Angie, I had just, since the 1st of June, came out here, started working, and had just got this stuff set up and organized, got most of this glassware unpacked and all that to set up so people could buy it. Just now. But I will say this, just in the past few weeks, I've had customer from Oklahoma City to come and buy stuff from here. We have stuff that's going to Nebraska
Mm.
and also into Arkansas. There's
Yeah.
a dealer in Arkansas that has come to get stuff. Well, his
That's
sister came and he bought the stuff and everything. So it's going to Arkansas as well. So all that from this tiny little town.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this is just kind of hard,
Yeah,
you know.
totally. The other questions I was wondering was like, what are some problems that you see now in the fours? That maybe gotten worse, or maybe at the new marshal we're gonna have to address. Like, what are the things about LaFours, the city particularly, that like, okay, I'll tell you right now. For me, it's the fact that there is no dump. So this problem with not allowing junk to be out, I have a problem with that because I don't think people can afford to remove their own junk.
Mhm.
And the cities I've been in, they'll do it for you.
Mhm.
You pay your trash bill, and you can put your mattress out, and they will take it for you.
Mhm.
Whereas these people, they either have to have something to haul it, and they have to pay for it
Mhm.
once they get it to the dump in Tampa.
Mhm.
So that's probably my biggest thing I was alarmed about when I got here. Just as far as like poverty, like how can you expect these people to clean up their yards? You know what I mean? If you're not, the city's not helping them. It's just
Mhm.
pointing a finger and saying do it. And I found that to be a problem. And also like the water quality, like something about our well. Is
Mhm.
something wrong with our well? I'm not
Mhm.
sure what that is.
I'm not. I still don't understand all about the water, but I think it's just kind of sad that we have these water bills and stuff, where we can't even drink the water.
Right.
We can't drink the water.
Yeah.
You know, um, and as far as the folks' yards and stuff like that, my concern about that is, here's the deal. A lot of the folks here have lived here like all of their lives. They've lived here for years and years, and they're used to doing things one way and used to the town being one way and everything. And then all at once, and I have, I like the new marshal. I mean, he's a good kid, and all that. I have nothing, but what I am saying is, all these changes at one time at once is going to be really, really hard. A lot of the folks here we have several new widows just in the past few years. In the past 5 years alone, there have been so many people that have become widows.
We just talked to Miss Stevens
Yeah, Max,
2 days
Max,
ago.
yeah, Max is one, and there are several widows that just in the past few years, several of them. I'm a widow. I'm a widow. My husband has been gone for 5 years. I'm a widow.
Mm.
I'm on a fixed income, you know. And even though it seems that I have lots of money and everything because I have all the stuff, that's not true at all. Because a lot of the things have been donated, and I mean I have bought some, and I've brought some from back east and all that. But but uh, speaking personally, we're used to having men to be able to help to take care of the yards and to haul off junk or whatever it is that we need to,
Mhm.
and now we don't have
Oh,
that.
the weed policy. That's right.
The
No higher
weeds,
than
right,
10
right,
inches.
right, right. And so now we don't have husbands to do that,
Mhm.
you know, and
And
I
you're
don't
gonna
ha-
start getting fines
I
for
don't
your
have
fixed
I don't
income.
have any kids here,
Yeah.
that I can depend on, and it's just hard to find people to work. And I've been paying school kids to help me with some of this stuff. Because it's just so hard to find somebody to work that you can depend on, and that will do it and won't charge you an arm and a leg.
Mhm.
You know,
Or
um,
steal from you.
and steal from me and things like that. Like I said, I'm a widow. I'm on a fixed income, and I work myself to death. I work around all the time, just trying to keep up. And for the fact that I've had this out here for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
I've had this place here for more than 20 years. And the fact that now that I'm finally getting it set up to where people can actually shop and enjoy it and everything, and now I have to move it all away and stuff, it's just really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I'm I'm doing the best that I can, with it, and I respect I respect our law. I respect the folks that work for the city. I respect all that and everything, but it stinks.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Exactly.
It just does. But anyway, it is what it is, and um,
Well, if you could wave a wand, like what things do you think? I mean, to make LaForest. I mean, you're an integral part of LaForest. You know what I mean? If you could just wave a wand and fix people's problems in a way the city has control over, what would you do? You know what I mean?
well, it's kind of a hard question.
And it had money.
And
Because that's
had
the main problem is they don't have
and
money.
and had, um, several years back, we would have things like cleanup days and things like that, right? And where just a team of people would come together and they'd go along and pick up trash off the roads and just different things. I think it. I think the biggest thing is for me would be neighbors helping neighbors. We all live in this little town. You know what I'm saying? It's really small, but we all live in this little town. And even though it took me a really long time to build credibility with these people and everything, I have built that credibility. And God has given me a burden and a love for the folks here and stuff. And I want to help as much as I can. If people would just jump in and help each other, if someone would just recognize the fact that there are widows here and other elderly people that just can't do their stuff, just can't do their stuff,
And can't afford a
you,
citation.
and can't afford to hire people to come and do it.
Right.
You know, I think the biggest thing for me, if I could wave that wand, is one of the visions that I had for here, Angie, when God very first called me out here, would be that people would jump in and do what they could do, and that like the kid would be mowing the lawn and for an elderly lady, and the elderly lady would give that kid some home baked cookies. You know what I'm saying? Doing what she could do, the kid was doing what he could do, and so it all got done. You see, and so there are so many people in this town that have time on their hands and just things like that. If they could just instead of just goofing off or do whatever they do and everything, if they would just show up and, is there anything I can do for you today? Is there something that can I take your trash out? Do you know sometimes it's hard to take a bag of trash and get it up into the dumpster? That's hard sometimes. I'm speaking from 1952 was when I was born, by the way. I'm speaking from someone who is there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not as old as some of the other ones. Max is older than I am. Some of the other ladies in town are older than I am. But I'm speaking from just my personal experience. Is there something I can do for you? That and then there are things that we can do. Our wisdom. I call us wisdom warriors. Our wisdom. There are things that we could do for others. But for me right now, I used to not to have to worry about keeping the grass cut and keeping a vehicle going and maintenance on a property or anything like that because my husband did all that stuff. But now not only am I having to do all the ministry stuff and all that, but I'm having to deal with all of this too, making sure the grass gets cut, making sure the trash gets taken out, making sure the vehicle runs, making sure the bills get paid, and all that. If I could wave a magic wand, that would be it. It would be people helping people.
That's interesting. I wonder if there's a way that we could organize that. Yeah. Well,
Just
when this goes up, I'll talk to you about that. One thing I wanted to ask before and just turn it off is your opinions about the school. How do you feel about the school? How do you think we could help the school? What are some things you wish were better about the school? I heard randomly kind of recently that the school's been in debt with some like twice or something in the last 20 years. that, like the fire department chief just
Uh-huh.
told me, that the
Right.
same thing had happened to the school.
I don't know because I don't have small kids in school.
Yeah.
I don't know anything going on. All that I do know um, is that I help Pat McBee with the Christmas parties at her school, at her home every year,
Oh,
right?
right,
Um,
right.
and I've met, that I meet the teachers then,
Yeah.
and by me not having any kids in school or anything, all I know is what bits and pieces I might hear, and that's all I know. So I can't say anything about that. I do know that I pray for the school all the time and for all those who are involved with the school,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't say anything. I don't know anything.
I know
Um,
Maxine Stevens was saying that most of the students are from Tampa,
mhm,
about half of them,
mhm,
and that she was thinking, it's not that it's going to close, but
mhm,
that it's like kind of going that direction. Maybe
mhm,
not this year or 5 years from now, but maybe if
mhm,
something doesn't change,
mhm,
maybe 10 years from now, we'll be busing our students to Tampa instead of vice versa. And I went to school in White Deer, and that's what we did. Went
oh,
to Skellytown.
mm, mm,
Skellytown school closed when I was in 7th grade,
oh,
and we got
mm,
all of those students. So
mhm,
it was cool though. We knew them all
mhm,
from little league sports.
mhm,
They were familiar to
mhm,
us. We had to combine teams to make a full team back then. So they were on my basketball team. So I was like,
mhm,
sure, here's my
mhm,
classroom.
yeah,
But yeah, and so I was just wondering about like the future of La Forge, like with the water and not having a dump, and the gas lines being sold because they're falling apart.
and not having a store, you
Not
know,
having a store.
yeah, yeah, that's a really big
Why
deal.
don't we have a store? Why can't we support the store when
Right,
there is one?
right, right.
People are complaining about prices. I was like, shut up and split the bill so that I can get milk like on a Saturday at like 11 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
without having to drive to Tampa.
I understand that someone has bought it, so I'm hoping that he will open it up. I don't know. I haven't seen or heard anything else, but I do understand that somebody bought
How
it.
many times do you think that has changed hands
Oh my
since you've been here?
goodness! Oh my goodness! Since I've been here, it has changed hands at least 4 times, probably,
Mhm.
since I've been here.
Mhm. And how many times has it been closed completely with no?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! So many times.
Yeah.
So many times. We went for 3 years. The last time without a store.
Yeah.
So yeah, many, many, many times.
And has it ever had gas?
Years ago, years ago it had gas, um, but it's been at least 20 years since it's been gas.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we first moved here, um, from Chicago, which I'd been taking the transit system in Chicago. So I wasn't even used to having a car anymore. I sold my car when we moved there. So I've gone, a year and a half not using a car. We bought a car, moved down here, and within 6 months, I was getting back in the habit of having a car, and I wasn't used to living without, gas
Mhm, mhm,
either, where
mhm,
I was down the street. So I let the car run down, and I forgot to tell Garrett,
mhm.
and he made it to the he made it to the first gas station in Tampa with 1 mile left.
Oh no.
It says how many miles you have left.
Mhm.
It's 1 mile left, and he was so upset. Then he goes to pay, and we've moved, so the zip codes changed.
Oh no.
On his cards, and he couldn't remember what the zip code was here, and he
Oh.
was calling me and calling me, and I wasn't answering.
Oh no.
He remembered. He drew it out of his
Uh,
subconscious,
uh,
after a while, but he
uh,
was very upset. But I mean, I had not prepared for that scenario.
mhm,
I just
mhm,
thought, you know,
mhm.
you can always get gas. And you can't always
You
get gas.
can't always get
You
gas.
have to
You can't,
remember to get gas in
mhm.
Tampa with 20 miles left on your car.
And you can't get a fountain soda either.
Yeah,
You
no.
know, that's so sad.
I mean,
You know.
and help me quit smoking cigarettes, because you can't get
You
cigarettes
can't.
without driving into Tampa.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. Okay, well, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. Anything about La Forge you love or hate or whatever, and
I love La Force. God has given me a love and a burden for this town and for the people of this town. I've seen several come and go since I've been here, but I love this town, and in fact, I can't imagine, obviously not living anywhere else, but I even have a hard time going anywhere else since I've been in La Force because it's so small, and I feel safe, you know, and so I have a hard time. I have a hard time even going anywhere else around all the people and
Yeah.
stuff. I love the fact that it's not so peoply, and I love what I do, Angie. Uh, I love being an outreach minister, and I love doing this, and so it gives people something to do. It brings a little bit of life into town,
Oh, definitely.
because
I
there's,
can't imagine what this town would be like if you weren't here.
you, you
I
know,
mean, I would
uh,
never see people.
thank you for saying
I
that.
barely
Bec-
see, my
bec-
neighbors as it is,
right,
but I'll catch them over here.
because a lot of people will come out like the other night. There were like we had chairs all around here. There were people just sitting all around here talking and stuff, just visiting and
I'm
stuff.
glad I missed it. Yeah.
And so that's a really big deal for me. A place where people can just come to, a place where kids feel comfortable. There were four kids yesterday, and they were like tweens. Most of them were tweens and stuff. But they were playing hide and seek over town, and so two of them wanted to come and hide out here. I love that. I love the fact that kids feel safe here. They know that I love them. They know that I care about them. And I love the fact that most folks just feel comfortable just coming by. It gives folks something to do
Yeah,
in La
and I
Force.
mean, there's no other place. I know that there's at least one or two other churches, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I feel like there's really no like community center,
Right, right.
and there's also, they don't have a lot of scheduled things. Like White Deer, every year they have a rodeo and they have a kickback day,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then I think they do probably one other thing plus homecoming, things
Hmm.
like that. But I feel like before is, there aren't any dances for the
Hmm.
kids. There aren't any like, family. They
Hmm.
try to do family night at the school, but no one shows up. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I wish that the city would do something.
Hmm.
Garrett said there used to be a festival when he was here. He doesn't
Hmm.
know how many years they did it, but
Hmm.
that they would block off this area by the fire department and like the baseball field and have
Hmm.
vendors and music and stuff. And we
Hmm.
thought about getting one together for Ronnie Ferguson's birthday.
Oh.
We thought
Hmm.
about throwing like a town party, because his
Hmm.
birthday is kind of in a hot month, so we were
Hmm.
kind of like, maybe a half birthday.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But yeah, that
Right.
makes me sad. I wish people would get together because you're right. You need community, especially when you're so isolated.
Right. 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 And with me, because I don't have family here, there are a lot of folks here in town that I'm close to now. I have some really dear friends. I love Max, and Maxine,
Mhm.
and several others in town that I just dearly love. But they have family and things like that, and so I spend quite a bit of time alone,
Mhm.
because I don't have family here or anything. Um, and so being here or being out at the mission gives me an opportunity to see folks throughout the day and everything. And then by the time I get home in the evening, I'm okay with being alone.
Yeah.
It's okay,
Well, I wonder how many people are in your similar position
That
that don't have family here.
that's the
That.
that's the thing. That's the thing, Angie. And that's what I was saying earlier about just neighbors helping neighbors, just jumping in. Little Adam Shepherd, you know who I'm talking about. Um,
How old is he?
Adam is 11.
Oh, I
Uh,
should know. He's about
Yeah,
both
he's
my kids'
he's
age.
he's blind. He's legally blind.
Does he go to school here or no?
He's homeschooled.
Okay.
Okay, um, but he came down yesterday with two of his friends and mowed for me. And I had told them the other day, I'm like, let me know what you're going to charge and everything. And so they come yesterday and they said, how about nothing, And so they're working toward, there's something that they're wanting to buy, and they're working toward getting that. And then if they mow so many lawns, free, if they do so many free lawns and stuff, they get like a new weed eater and
You can
blower
send them my way.
and all that stuff,
Yeah, that's
you know,
great.
and stuff. And so they came out yesterday and mowed for me, and weed eated and stuff. And that was just so amazing to
Mhm.
me. That was just so awesome. And then, like I said, I've been some of the other boys. I have been giving them just a few dollars, to help me move things around and just different things like that. And that's a really big deal. And so the biggest thing for me, I would say, in all of this would be what I said earlier is neighbors helping neighbors.
You know, and I think we should do. I know I'm an outsider, so I'm not like allowed to plan things. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I think what we should do is maybe have a weekend scheduled on the books and have it. And this is, I know it's kind of far fetched, but if the marshal would give us a little bit extra time, you know, we could get men with trailers to volunteer, men with mowers to volunteer,
Mhm.
and you know make a list of houses, um, especially widows, especially. And you know Clive Klaus or Clint Klaus, I think, or whatever his name is. He married some girl that grew up here. I don't know either one of them, but they live behind the school. And I ran into him the other day because I was filming one of the burned down houses on the street right by the school. Might
Mhm.
be this street. I don't know. Maybe the next street.
Mhm.
And so I was filming it, you know, because it was just in ruins,
Mhm.
and wondering what happened to it. And he came out and was his kid, so I asked him what happened, and we started talking. And he said that with the new marshal, you know, sending out the ordinance email, that he wanted to